Welcome back to We Connect. We're going back to that discussion that I'm having here with Mrs. Preetha Reddy, Managing Director of the Apollo Hospitals. You were talking about healthcare. You were talking about your father being the guiding light, as it were, within your own family and with what's happening at the Apollo Hospitals. How do you see healthcare in India, Preetha?
You know, there's a lot to be done.
Really?
You know, let's get down to that. There's a Bharat and there's an India. And I think the India part, you know, is going places. We have centers of excellence, many islands of excellence, and they're doing a phenomenal job. You know, our outcomes are on par with the rest of the world. The Cleveland Clinic might have like a 98.5% success rate in cardiac surgeries. We have the same, if not better. So I think in pockets, we're doing a phenomenal job in terms of, you know, high-end care, tertiary care, investing in great technology. All that is happening. So no complaints about that. But then when you look at the other side of India, if you look at the Bharat side of India, there's so many people who need to be looked after. You know, sometimes I worry that 200 miles out of the city of Chennai or Delhi or Bombay, you can't even get good clean drinking water. So I think, you know, we have to worry about the health and hygiene of people. We have to see, you know, what can we do to take the health quotient up? How do we educate people on, you know, good lifestyle, healthy lifestyle? So, you know, my father started this whole movement called Billion Hearts Beating. What we're trying to do is to really, you know, sensitize and educate people, make them take a pledge that they will actually look after themselves, because, you know, we completely understand the fact, and, you know, it's a given that cardiac, cancer, diabetes, these diseases are going to, you know, really overtake the economic prosperity maybe of the country. So unless we intervene now, it might be too late. You know, we're the heart disease capital, the cancer capital, the diabetes capital.
Yes. So crazy. These are not good titles to have, right?
It's not. It's not. You know. Yeah. So unless we all get together and do something, it's a huge problem. So I think, you know, we need to intervene on the non-communicable diseases. We need to build healthcare infrastructure. We need, you know, the biggest challenge today, you know, many of us can actually find the finances to build, let's say, 100 hospitals. But the manpower challenge, you know, how are we going to man these hospitals? We need to really double the number of doctors, triple the number of nurses, quadruple the number of allied healthcare professionals. How are we going to do this? So we really need to work with the government to first, you know, train people, train skilled people to man the hospitals, get healthcare infrastructure status, because unless we're able to build the number of beds which the country requires, not only in the cities but in the smaller towns and in the rural areas, who looks after our people?
But Preetha, how does one get a government to actually agree to give the hospital business, the hospital industry, this infrastructure status that you're talking about, this label? You've been trying for this for a long time. So what's the way? Why aren't they listening?
Eventually they'll wake up and listen. You know, roads have become priority, telecom has become priority, so many other things, including IT and tourism. Healthcare actually gives employment for more people than IT does. And they don't seem to realize it because healthcare is not a very organized sector. So the data, the information is still not available for them. You know, they think, oh, for-profit hospitals, and that's all there is about private healthcare. What about the not-for-profit? What about the NGOs? You know, there's so much work happening, so many jobs being given. So I think at some point the government will listen. If not tomorrow, the day after.
So you're going to keep plugging this, Preetha?
I'm not going to stop.
No, you're not going to stop. Well, wish you all the best.
A lot of us won't stop, but I think eventually they'll listen. I think even now, after this budget, the Honorable Finance Minister realizes that, you know, it's a very important sector. Maybe the advisory wasn't strong enough. Maybe the information didn't go strong enough to him, but he really realizes that, you know, healthcare has to be a sector which, if it's nurtured, 5 years, 10 years, will stand on its own.
Right.
He probably didn't even realize that it's giving, you know, the kind of jobs which is much more than the IT sector.
Right.
So I think, you know, that info has been given.
Right.
So what will happen?
Right. Now tell me, Preetha, you are in private healthcare. What do you think about the existing government healthcare? Because that has also improved considerably now over the years. Where do you see that going then? In parallel, do you see the two growing in parallel?
You know, see the government health sector, it's a very state subject. You know, the central government allocates a certain amount and then it's up to the states to do. So if you look at the southern states, for whatever reason, the level of what the government is doing in the healthcare space is phenomenal. You know, the government's really doing. Tamil Nadu government, I was with the health secretary on, you know, some other issue yesterday, and they use palm tops, you know, for healthcare workers.
High tech.
I don't think even private sector is doing
exactly
that. So I think the government sector in some states is doing fabulously. NCR, you know, Delhi government, fabulous work. Gujarat. So not only the southern states, but you know, states like Gujarat, they are very forward thinking. So eventually the government will raise the bar on, you know, being a good quality healthcare provider.
Right. Let me come back.
But it'll take a while.
I'm sorry. Let me come back now to private healthcare. Do you see the costs of private healthcare? And this has been a big issue. People always say, oh, Apollo Hospital's expensive. You've got to be rich. You've got to, you know, it can cost a lot of money to go to your hospital. I know on the flip side, you've also got people who are treated for free. But do you think eventually, and at the end of the day, it might get cheaper to maybe do some major surgery? Well, what do you think? Do you think
you know,
see that?
The cost, there is an inflation cost. So it won't get cheaper, but financial access will get better because of insurance.
Right.
You know, today people are really taking health insurance. 5 years ago, they were like, you know, what is this all about? I would take fire insurance, I would insure my house, I'll insure my motor car, but I won't insure myself. So, you know, today that's changing. And I think eventually there will be access into hospitals. I don't see anything getting cheaper unless you're compromising on something, which I don't think, you know, healthcare providers or even the medical staff want to do. And then there's a volume game. You know, sometimes if you do a lot of something, some of the infrastructure costs kind of, you know, get cheaper. But apart from that, I think healthcare providers have to just do a quality job on whatever they're doing. Focus on quality, focus on education, training, research, look at outcomes, you know, can we do something better? Can the process be made quicker, faster? Can we use technology to really make things, you know, less expensive? I think those are, innovation might stand in for expense.
Right.
I think that would make a huge difference.
Right. Preetha, time for us to go for just another short break. But of course, when I come back, this time I am going to talk about Preetha Reddy, the person. Well, time for us once again to take a very brief break and get right back with you.